So you've now seen the video, and we briefly touched on what privilege is through the lens of your body, and also as a concept and a construct that exists within each of us in our societies as whole. I'd like to share with you now another visual that I find to be so powerful as a conversation piece, as a self-inquiry. This is the Wheel of Power and Privilege, and this was created by a woman called Sylvia Duckworth, who is in Canada, and this was based on Canadian society, but actually I think this is just as applicable for any Western society, including the UK. So let's take a look at this. The Wheel of Power and Privilege. As you look at this, you'll see in the centre of the wheel the word power. And further out towards the outside of the wheel, the word marginalised. So what this is showing us is that the closer you are to the word power, the more privilege you have in society. The further away you are in society, marginalised, towards the outer layer, the more likely you are to be left behind in society or even excluded. The closer you are to power, the more likely you are to get prioritised and get opportunities in life. The further out you are marginalised, it's likely that life will be more challenging. So I'm going to pause for a moment and just give you time to have a look around this wheel of power and privilege. As you look at it, see where you sit. You might notice that some areas are fixed and some areas are not fixed. And what I mean by that is there are some areas, like, let's take for example housing. If I were to own a property, it would give me closer proximity to power. If I'm homeless, less so. I'm more marginalised by society if I'm homeless. I don't have a home. Money, wealth gives more proximity to power. Less so if we're poor. So both of these examples can change. A person may well come into money, closer proximity to power, and they may then own a home. Closer proximity to power equals more privilege. These can change over time. However, as we come round on the wheel, we might come to look at skin colour and how somebody with white skin will have a closer proximity to power than somebody with dark skin. And we know this just by looking at statistics of those that are maybe harmed by society. For example, if I just picked one, that women of colour, women from the global majority, let's say, are 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than white-bodied women. So as we look around, take a look. Notice. What do you see? Let's take one more example here. Somebody who is able-bodied is much more able to get around shops, in and out of buildings, than somebody who has significant disability, somebody who might be in a wheelchair. But society is often set up for those that are able-bodied. Steps, lack of ramps. And until we really shine a light on this, often a lot of this will sit unconsciously within us. If you're able-bodied, have you ever considered how it might be for someone to get around? Have you ever noticed how much society is set up for you as an able-bodied person. How might this show up in the places that you create and hold for other people? Healing spaces, in therapeutic spaces, group spaces, circle spaces. How might you set up your spaces with this knowledge? So we're going to pause here for a moment, just taking one more look, and I really invite you now to take some time to consider this in the spaces you create for others. So there are many systems at play in our society that really land people, earned, unearned, with lack of equity and lack of equality. And what I'm speaking about here as society at a systemic level are the isms. Racism, classism, sexism, ageism, the list could go on. And how these isms, these systems that are often at play, that place some in close proximity to power and others further out, are really important to consider when you're creating spaces, when you are holding time, energy and love for those to come to heal, to explore with you, of what's at play for the people that come and what could potentially play out. And we're now speaking about the assumptions that I brought in at the beginning. What assumptions might you have as you create spaces? Might you hire somewhere that somebody who is not able-bodied can't even get into? So it's really important that we pause and consider where we are in proximity to power, how many privileges we hold, I hold, you hold, in creation of spaces for others. So this is the wheel of power and privilege. And I'm going to pause now and invite you into a journaling prompt. So this is time now to gather your pen, your journal, as we take another. Based on the information that you have received so far, we've looked at assumptions, the assumptions that I shared when I was setting up this space. We've explored what privilege is, proximity to power and privilege. You've seen the video now. This is your invitation now to get really clear and really tune into your own proximity to power, to locate yourself in this moment. How close are you to power? Use the wheel of power and privilege that you've seen. Go back to that, have a look, and really start to map out your own proximity to power, and consider the privileges that affords you in life, in the society that you exist in. So press pause now and give yourself around 5 minutes to do this.